You want to expand on your thoughts more about why you feel people would be executed when they've created a lot of bad karma for themselves, and we'll deal with that at the soul level.
That's exactly it. An execution removes the biological function. It does not affect the soul as much as people would like to think. From what I understand, the angels then take that turkey, and you can pick one of them, it don't matter, and they school that entity. They work with that entity. They change its belief system to the good. If they cannot do that, then that person or individual entity, whatever you want to call it, is sent to a small place that's pretty much isolated so that they cannot further affect or infect or influence with the darkness the people that are going to be babes in the woods. Now you got to remember this, so that they don't pollute them, so to speak. There is almost a general societal direction toward instant gratification. Right now, I got to have it. That's where your credit comes from. That's where your problems come from. It used to be you waited, you saved up some money, and you made a down payment at the very least. Usually you paid it off, or you didn't have one. The idea of credit goes directly to the financials that I've been explaining. It is a form of enslavement because you got to make that credit card payment, and you got to make that house payment, and you got to pay for this, and you got to pay for that, and all that, when it's added up, generally comes to almost as much as you make. They might leave you $20 for beer. You don't know. A lot of the times you don't make enough. Okay, the premise of execution, people say, oh my goodness, you can't do that, that's inhumane. Well, if the person themselves was not inhumane, I would object to their execution. But some of these people have killed thousands, millions.
Yeah, I would like...
alone.
But isn't that...
I would like to add something.
They need to be executed.
I would like to add something to that for the caller.
Teri, go ahead.
Yeah, we have to remember, never mind the rest of the countries, they all have their own forms of government, but this is America. And in America, under our true form of government, we believe in due process. We are not talking about rounding up people and just putting them in front of a white wall and having a firing squad. Forgiveness is God's realm, but in man's realm, in this world, and in America, you must be held accountable for your crimes, and you must be tried and convicted or acquitted by a jury of your peers. And should that result in execution, then that is known as justice. Right. So I believe, Drake is not talking about execution squads.
Right,
no,
exactly.
Not at all.
Well, Jack, thank you for calling in. We're going to go ahead and move on to our next caller. And we have Sally out of the 646 area code. Sally, you're on.
Thank you. I'm calling from New York City. And in New York City, the sheriff is appointed by the mayor. So I was wondering, how will you proceed in New York City?
Well, then the people need to exercise their God-given right of freedom of will and choose the person they feel is best suited for that position after our present form of government is cleaned.
Also, I was wondering, do you consider the legislators who voted for the NDAA as people who are have done wrong by the people?
Exactly. Those are some of the people that will be adjudicated. Even those who are retired, who voted for Homeland Security and ain't in office anymore, these people are going to be held personally responsible and liable for what they've done, each and every last one of them. Now, this does not necessarily mean that you're going to take Grandpa and stick him up against the wall. This means adjudicated in a rational form. if that person can offer, and this is simply how it works, in terms of justice, you have reparation or you have recompense. This is where you attempt to, whether you can or not, repay some debt you owe for a damage done. That sort of thing, in and of itself, can put that person who has not been doing anything but sitting around collecting Social Security or whatever retirement they got back into a productive system in terms of you're going to have a lot of small businesses. And I mean a ton of them. You're going to have people, well, how can I best organize? I don't see how to do this. This person may have talents that can be useful in that realm, and that can be their sentence. It's similar to the community service where somebody goes and cleans a mile of road because they were being an idiot on the highway. That's the type of common law justice that I feel is going to be meted out to just about everybody that I can think of.
Well, one last question, if I may. There's a woman by the name of Leah Bolger who burst into the super committee to say that that we don't have a budget deficit if we end the wars and tax the rich. She is going to have a hearing on Thursday, and she intends to plead guilty, which will give her 6 months in jail. I support her actions. I do believe she did the right thing. So I'm, first of all, because the super committee was not elected, on top of everything else. But my question is, would a person like her, would she be released? Would she have to spend 6 months in jail for acting on behalf of many?
Very simply, if you do not have an injured party, and that's a people,
a flesh and blood human being,
or damaged property, and that can be the dog, the cat, Tweety bird, whatever, the door, it don't matter, you have no crime. These are political prisoners in the essence of why she is being adjudicated into jail. They didn't like what she said, so you have thought police. There's a book called 1984. There's a movie that just came out in 1984. Believe me, that's very real. Believe me when I tell you that the old movie that was called Manchurian Candidate, where they brainwashed a person to the point where you had a key and you could turn them on and off, tell them what to do, and they'd go do it no matter what it was, that's real. They've been doing this for years. Now, if they do it slowly and carefully, everybody gets to be a Manchurian Candidate, and you get up and you go to work and you pay all this stuff to the bank and you go back to sleep and you wake up and you do it again. Continual slavery is not freedom. It's all financial. Well, the other part of this, one more thing. One thing I want to stress heartily. First and foremost, the national debt is fictitious. It don't exist.
Amen.
Number two, it has been fraudulently perpetrated upon the people, and they tax you to pay it. All of the monies that come from taxes go into bankers' pockets.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just a simple fact of it.
Right. Well, the IRS people also, like Cindy Sheehan, does not pay her taxes because she does not want it to support war, and she may go to jail. This is something that I wanted to know. Would refusing to pay taxes because you don't support what they support, would you be exonerated in this system from such a sentence?
First of all, there's no law that says that you got to pay taxes. Number two, the IRS is bogus. They got no more right collecting taxes than the person at the local gas station has a right to. Now, you need to understand this very clearly. The whole system, and I mean the whole system, is bogus. It is a debt-oriented enslavement-type system. The whole thing is going. And I mean, when I say the whole thing, I mean all of it. So any portion of it that you can think of that is not quite right, doesn't quite fit, is probably one of those areas that's going to be cleaned.
Sally, I want to thank you for calling in. Drake, I think you will be interested in our next caller. In light of these last couple of questions, we have Alan. Alan, you are open, hon.
Hi, Drake. Hey, this goes back, and you got to kind of follow me a little bit to the tombstone of the Civil War, okay? Now, the 14th Amendment was actually the gateway which allowed the IRS to be able to set it up the way they did. Now, they did some changes in 1912 all the way to 1913. And what they did, they used, under the emergency war powers that they never rescinded, to be able to jump that all the way into the Great Depression. Now, when they did that, they and I'm sure you know this, but they took all the Americans, gave us all our capitalization names. They used us for the surety. And then, upon that, on the surety names that graduated through the Department of Agriculture, and then stuck us with us being claimed as the enemy through the Trading with the Enemy Act, that put us, as the Americans with our all capitalized names, through their eyes as a foreign island of that of the United States. So when you follow their code, the only reason that they say that we have to pay taxes, when you look up the definition of income, which you will find it through miscellaneous, goes back to the taxations of foreign corporations. That falls on top of the fictitious courts that we go by in the de facto court system. Now, what they did not tell the American people, when they changed it in 1939, they moved the actual allotments of what they called the unrestricted claim of right. It falls under the section of 1341 in Title 26. That allows you, and it's always been carried. It's under the CFR, though. It's not in the regular title itself. They deleted it. They completely got rid of it. And it fully disappeared in 1954. So from that point forward, the only recognition that you ever seen of the unrestricted claim of right, which gives you the complete right to take your labor, your tax, and completely eliminate it. It zeroes your tax base 100%. Now, I know and you know that Title 26 is bogus. It's never been positive law, and the IRS is just basically, the strong arm of the Federal Reserve and a few others. But a lot of other people don't know either. When you look at the Federal Internal Revenue Service, ask yourself what happened to the Internal Bureau of Federal Income Tax of Philippines, because that's where it originally started back in 1902. And all they did was shift the two offices, and basically one is still existing if you can find it, but the other one was shifted over to Puerto Rico. But anyways, depending on all these other actions that are taking place on your timetables that you talk about, you can turn around and re-amend all your taxes for the last 3 years. Once you legally amend all your taxes, they have to pay you all that tax back at an 8% compounded interest rate. And every IRS center has a special process for this 1341. Now,
we need to speed this up because we have a lot of callers in the queue. Still.
All right. Basically, it falls under 6411D of the CFR, and they have to process it within 90 days. So anybody that's sitting out there can redo their taxes. Now, secondly, Drake, I sent an email to Freedom Reigns